the reality of the situation is there are people that are in all industries at the end of the day. If you go to the very top, all my mentors are in all industries at the end of the day. They're in not, so it's all one, right? So we just need to have those conversations.
If you believe we can change the narrative, if you believe we can change our communities, if you believe we can change the outcomes, then we can change the world. I'm Rob Richardson. Welcome to Disruption Now. Welcome to Disruption Now. I'm your host and moderator, Rob Richardson. With me is Manny Larcher of Collaborate and Elevate. We're going to talk about his story, how he started Collaborate and Elevate, his vision for the future, and just why he's disrupting things here in Columbus, Ohio. Always good to connect with a fellow Ohioan. Manny, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Well, look, so you started Collaborate and Elevate, which is the platform, kind of his name indicates, it's about making sure we collaborate and elevate together.
Yeah.
We had a conversation really about what's going on, particularly within this landscape of Black organizations and kind of this missing piece. If you remember, we discussed the NAACP and some other organizations, and not as a straight criticism of them, but as a lack of maybe not really seeing a place where that is a place where we can really collaborate and elevate, if you will. And that's part of why you started what you did. The NAACP recently, they've gotten more money than they've ever received. I got $100 million, and I think Urban League is something very similar. And the question is, you felt there was some missing piece in some of those organizations. What do you think was missing in terms of how they approach things? And then what are you hoping to gain from your platform here?
Yeah, no, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. And my background before starting Collaborate and Elevate, I have an agency, Stopwatch Creative, and we build websites. 4 years in business now. We started in 2017. And before I started Stopwatch, I actually built a local NAACP website about 7 years ago, which is still up and running today. And also I've had experience to work with, other Black-owned organizations. And in 2015, I was a part of a startup that raised some funds from Rev One Ventures, which is a local VC firm here, as well as Cardinal Health. So I kind of went from, public, to private per se. And then I saw the resources that help entrepreneurs. So, again, like you said, I'm not throwing shade at any of these organizations. I just think, especially just us as a people, we have a lot that we're fighting against, a lot that we're going against, and a lot of issues, that we're fighting against. So it's tough when you're an organization comprised of individuals who are all facing these challenges. You got to take care of in-house first before you're able to really help the community. And I just think a lot of Black-owned organizations, like, the large ones, they're still unable to really, there's probably a lot more that they could do, but again,
So I'll be more direct. I think they fail to pivot and they fail to innovate at the speed that's needed for the problems of today. So I believe NAACP is needed. But I don't think, just like any other large institution, this just doesn't go for Black organizations. But when any institution has been around for so long, they tend to just figure out and focus on what's the least amount of risk I can take to preserve my status versus what do I need to do to push myself at the boundaries, because innovation exists on the edges, right? And when you have organizations that are built just by their nature, this goes for corporations too. When you are an established corporation, there's a reason why innovations don't come out of large organizations. It's not because they don't have innovative people. It's because the structure is such that it's about preservation versus innovation. That's what I think.
No, and you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. I think, what are their goals? Is that, on a pedestal? So for me, in 2018, once Collaborate and Elevate was the theme of the last Startup Week. And I knew that there would be no more funding from Chase Bank for ultimate more startup weeks. This Collaborate and Elevate was an idea that kind of flew around to a few other people, and we started a company and we started doing these events. Pretty much, we did these events up until COVID, and it immediately became.
And these were in-person events, right?
in-person events in
Yeah,
partnership.
I want you to focus more on that. Can I take you back a little bit, Manny? Because I want you skipped over something I think is very, very important. You had a process where you had a startup, and it, for whatever reason, there was some, it didn't go the way you wanted to in some ways, because you pivoted to what you're doing now. Talk about that process. If you consider that a setback, a failure, a learning lesson, and if so, what did you learn from that experience that you think helps inform you of why you started Collaborate and Elevate? If that, does my question make sense?
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. And so I just want to make sure we understand kind of like the landscape, with Collaborate and Elevate. And I have to give, it was a part, our events were out of Michael Red's co-working office that was free on Ohio State's campus.
Got
So
it.
that's where it started. Now, Collaborate and Elevate pretty much was a good way to promote my marketing agency, Stopwatch Creative. The events were always free. We were highlighting other entrepreneurs in the city, so it was a good way to get it, bring our name, let people know that we're doing these events. Now, through the events, we help people connect to jobs, customers, investors, life-changing relationships. So once COVID happened, that's really the thing. We had an event in March. It became apparent that it's COVID. We had to cancel the event. I think the thing that was very interesting that we did strategically was to roll out our membership, because now what happened is we now have a low cost buy-in for the people who wanted that attention. So that allowed Collaborate and Elevate to grow over 8,000% last year in 2020. And
That's
now
awesome. You have 8,000 members.
well, no, the business did 8,000% more than it did in 2019.
Got it. Yeah.
So we and then just so much, it allowed us to put a process to the chaos, I would think, that happens when you do events.
Yeah.
And that's really that was the pivot for us, pivoting.
Right. And I think there's a few things I'd like to take out of there, Manny. I tell people, if you want to be effective, you have to add value. And what you did, why your business is taking off, is because you're adding value to people. And it's not a pure transaction thing. It's not like, okay, you talk to me, we do business. You're being intentional about networking. You're helping people highlight their work, their platforms. And in turn, the ecosystem returns the favor to you. When you put out more, you get more back.
100%. And throughout the whole process, I'm learning. My team is learning. We're connecting with people now all over the world. We now have members in Philippines, Germany, in Africa, Toronto. So it's really just a blessing, and we're grateful to help people. That's really what we're trying to do. We're building a product and a platform that I think could simplify a lot of things. I think LinkedIn. I think all these platforms are. You have to do so much in order to gain attention and to get value, and that's pretty much what we're trying to simplify.
So you're starting like a platform in order to have people, I guess, get value, versus having to go out and do so much in the LinkedIn space and other spaces. But how would that work in specific? Like, because I've heard people ask, why would people want to go on to another platform when you already have LinkedIn, Facebook, so on and so forth? What's your answer to that?
That's a great question. Mine is time and efficiency. I think if you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, you have to post, you have to update this, you have to do all these different things, take a nice picture, change your background. You have to do all these things. Really what we're solving and simplifying is all of that. We know that if you're a member, if you're serious enough to be a member, we have a process that we run you through. After that's quick. And from there, we connect you with those opportunities through our network. Having said that, it's also free, right? Our events pretty much now are open and free to the public. The news and the information that we share is free as well. So there is a free, component. But for our members, it's just making their time more efficient, right? I'll use Gaia Castley as an example. She's a lawyer. Before Collaborate and Elevate, she was on LinkedIn sending the messages. You got to think all these AI and even virtual assistants and all these things, right? This is more than probably $5 a month, right? Gaia was doing all of these things, getting zero customers, right? So she signed up, and through that process, we've helped connect her to several thousands of dollars. So from Guy's perspective, that's just time efficiency. And now, as an entrepreneur, the most important thing is the yes, right? So we're connecting you to yeses, and you can focus on that as opposed to just kind of close your eyes and hoping that, good things kind of come. That's what we're trying to simplify.
Yeah. So I want to get back to my earlier question about your pivot from the Cardinal Health startup and what that process was, and what was the learning lesson? Like, what went wrong or right? It's kind of hard I don't like viewing it like what went wrong, but what was the learning lesson and what you learned from that in terms of the setback and the need to pivot from that moment?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think what I learned is that we never fail; we just learn, right? I learned, if I'm 1,000 times smarter when it comes to tech development. So, I learned significantly a lot more about tech development from that process. I learned significantly more about customer acquisition. So that process was a beautiful experience because I was able to learn, with several, with a little over $200,000 investment, right?
Yeah.
So it's a blessing to learn from that opportunity. And it's important to say that this company is still up and running today, myordina.com. So it's not necessarily a process where the business failed. I think it's a matter of learning, balancing my own expectations. And it's a process that has led to so many things. So I think for me, it's more so learning about development and marketing. And I think we were in a position where our goals were so high without really understanding the processes in order to achieve them. So that's
so hard, right? I mean, I think the dreamers, because I am a dreamer, a why thinker, a visionary. The problem with visionaries and why thinkers is that they normally aren't the best at the process part, which you have to have the process part in order to implement the vision. So if you were talking to your younger self, Manny, right? If you wanted to go back and talk to your younger self about this process, what advice would you give your younger self? And then what advice would you ignore?
Man, my younger self, I would just tell him to be patient, live in the moment, spend as much time, with your family and loved ones. And then I would say take risk. I think for me, and I would say just for Black people in general, I think unfortunately it's hard for us to take risks. Like starting a company is a very risky thing, right?
It's very, very much so.
So I think,
there's more support than there probably ever has been, but it's still a very risky thing.
Yeah, and I'll tell a younger self to do it at 18. Do it at 16 when you really thought to do it.
Because you got nothing to risk. I mean, you don't have to wait to start a business. You got an idea, you have a network, go. So,
period. You learn so much, and it will only make you better. I
agree.
I just wish in school they taught us about investing and stock market and how to start your own company and how to go public and SPACs and all these different things. I think if the more that I knew about the finances and the financial industry, that would have equipped me for everything. And I think that now the version of myself that I'm in right now, I think that is a significant knowledge to have on how to put your money in different buckets in order to set yourself up for the future. Right. So that's the younger me. And I think that's what this country needs to do too more, is to educate us on finances, probably even more than science. There, I said it. I think, I think people should learn, math, finances, education, English. I don't know, but I think finances is extremely important. Especially if you're a solopreneur, you're now doing your taxes and you're doing all this stuff, right? So,
I think there has to be some teaching on the actual process. because a lot of how schooling goes now, Manny, is based upon a model that's 500 years old. Like, okay, yeah, it made sense. The model we have for schooling was based when everyone's major job was they would go in and be these administrators, these scribes. So you had to learn how to write this particular way, write in cursive, do all this stuff. So like now it needs to be applied to how people actually get opportunities in 2021. Like it does not work that way anymore. So we have to really train not only finances. I think we train on business, and then we do train on tech in terms of understanding how to get into tech. And you don't have to be technical. Here's the thing: you don't have to be a technical whiz. You have to understand an idea, and there are people that can do the idea for you. I mean, like you don't have to be a technology wizard to start an application or to create a platform.
But right there, understanding that you could find someone and you could work with that person and you could develop that together. I'm not necessarily sure that we all have that communication or just natural teamwork aspect, and I think successful entrepreneurs do. I think that's a challenge as well too. I think we, innately sometimes have this, I want to be self-made and all these things. And then that
they make it up. That's made up in our mind because we're fed that. And particularly, I think that's in our community too. And we see each other, like you and I have similar platforms, but we're not competitors. We complement. Like there's enough people in this space. There's not enough people in this space, and we have to do every opportunity we can. I'm a member of your platform proudly, and I will encourage people to be a part of your platform because we have to work together more in order to achieve scale. I think that's where you're going.
You're 100%. I just think we don't really I think we know the power of our voice. Jay-Z says it really well. Everybody wants to be us for real. We just got to see us,
Yep.
And I think that's it. I just think we really, when we talk about NAACP, when we talk about all these Black-led organizations, we're looking at them as opposed to be the ones to bring our voice together and to put us on that platform. But the reality of the situation is they don't do that. And we could go into a whole tangent about why they don't, but I think we have to now look in the mirror. And I think that's more important. When we look in the mirror, we all have platforms. We all have social media. Yep. Given rating someone's, business on Google, like watch and I challenge you to do this. Next time you go to any restaurant or Black-owned restaurant, take a picture of the food, go to your Google Maps and leave a good review. Watch what happens.
You're right.
Google will send you emails like X number thousand of people have seen this, right? So we are now at the point where these platforms could organically help us. I just don't think we're building each other up. And I love Kanye West and I love Jay-Z and I love all these people, but I think we need to, let's look at the Cincinnati people, the Rob Richardsons, the Rodney Williams, the Travis Holloways, right? Let's pay attention to the people in our own backyard. And that's how we're going to get what we want to get. And if in the reality situation, if we don't, right, especially if we're from these small cities, and we keep paying attention to, T.I. and Jeezy, then Atlanta will continue to get bigger and LA will continue to build, right? I think let's look at our own culture, right, and build up our cultures. I just think we don't see a lot of people that are doing the hard work in the communities that we live in, and
no, man, it's such a great point. Such a great point. When you look at how we view it, it was like, okay, we got to be like the East Coast or the West Coast. We have talent right here. 1, 2. I believe that COVID was a temporary disruptor, but it was more of an accelerator of trends. And so, like, even though there's Atlanta and other places, right, we can connect with those places and bring what we have here in a different way that we couldn't pre-COVID. Because now people are willing to go on, okay, you got something going on in Atlanta, let's see what's going on in Cincinnati. We can actually have events because there is opportunity. I think we need to figure out how do we particularly create networks and ecosystems within the Midwest and the South. I think there's a lot of opportunities that are still untapped there versus just focusing on the coast, which is where a lot of the folks are focused on. There's a lot still to be done here. And I think there's a lot of growth that can happen online and in a collaborative manner that didn't really exist pre-COVID, but now can exist in really a new way.
100%, 100%. You're a great example for that. I mean, your speaker lineup has been incredible. Just some of the people that you've had on, and I just think that's a testament to that. I think there's so many people talented from Ohio that basically end up moving, right? Go to Atlanta, go to Chicago to chase these pastures. We're now at a point where because of
we don't have to do that anymore.
Exactly. And you have a lot of people that are there coming back, and they're now building up here and building up. Newark, right? Ohio has billions of dollars in construction right now going into building up Newark, Ohio. So I think that's the era that we're in right now. It's building up the Midwest. I don't think and there's several reasons why. Cost of living, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you like the cold, right? You don't mind the weather.
I don't know if I like the cold, but I can bear it. So go ahead. I'm not gonna say I like it.
But you can bear it, right? If you can bear the cold, there's just a lot of opportunity. And I just think, I think we all have to really just see each other, acknowledge each other, and pay attention to what's going on around us more. And I think that's going to lead to success. Transparent conversations too as well. We're going to have better transparent conversations, and that's how we're really going, to be able to make change. Even the people that, Rob, I believe the people that are trying to make an effort and they aren't. I just think maybe they just need to have a different network around. And I think a lot of these big organizations, they get stuck in the same, ways, and they don't get that new, fresh innovation in. And I just think through us talking naturally, as opposed to board conversations, right? Board meeting rooms. I think then that's how we're going to have to change the culture, here, period. Because if we rely to being in boardrooms and stuff like that, I think that's kind of the problem right now. I think exposing the Ohio culture, and just about us connecting more as people, and just having a conversation about what we're doing, what we're working on, whether you work for the city or you're in nonprofit or you're in a private, because it is so connected. And the reality of the situation is there are people that are in all industries at the end of the day. If you go to the very top, all my mentors are in all industries at the end of the day. They're in so it's all one, right? So we just need to have those conversations, and a younger me did not believe that I could even find that one in Ohio. You're right. I wasn't exposed to many Black men in Ohio that were entrepreneurs doing the things that I want to do, right? So I think we're now in an era where there are so many more.
Agreed.
So it's just being able to connect with them, right? Being able to connect with them. And that's why it is important for the NAACP and for all these organizations to hear this conversation and connect, because, they have that access to, the under 18, and they have the access in the pool. So I think we just need to have these conversations, but it hurts me to see any just life wasted at an early age. It really pains me to see that. So.
Yep. Well, look, I appreciate all you're doing, Manny Larcher. We're going to work together more. I said it right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. All right. And I appreciate you, man. Don't make yourself a stranger, and you can find them at Collaborate and Elevate. And what's the name of the of your business for building platforms and building websites? Stopwatch Creative, right?
That is it. Stopwatch Creative. I appreciate you, Rob.
All right, we're gonna that's gonna be in the notes. And we're gonna be working together more. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.